I think my parents sold me to a demon." Jake Dean was a gifted boy. He was now 11 years old, and he was getting better and better at moving objects like a cup or plate with his mind. His parents forbade him to play his games, but when they weren't around, he could practice in peace. He liked his talent, but his parents were afraid of it. They called him a freak, and sometimes they beat him or locked him in the dark cupboard. The beatings were bad, but he preferred them to being locked in the cupboard. At least they didn't ignore him when they hit him. Jake himself found that his powers weren't scary at all. They were more like the superpowers of the heroes in the comic books he used to read. They were part of a righteous group and used their powers for higher goals. He wanted to be like that when he grew up. His parents would certainly not agree, but maybe he could convince them that he wasn't a freak, because even though they beat him and insulted him, Jake loved his parents. The few evenings when they sat together in front of the TV and watched a series without arguing were absolute heaven for Jake, because even though being a superhero was cool, he wanted nothing more than for his mom and dad to love him. It was a Friday evening, and he was lying in his bed as usual, reading his comics with the help of the nightlight. Captain Justice, V-Man, and Barbarian Girl defied the attacks of the nasty Dr. Butcher and saved the day. Jake's eyes slowly closed with a good feeling. The good feeling disappeared as soon as the most vivid dream the boy had ever had began. He was on a dark street where most of the lanterns were out. The street was covered in garbage, blood, and bullet casings. Jake wondered what had happened here. Besides some shell casings, he found something else. It was an old-fashioned doll whose eyes had been burned out. Something told Jake that this doll used to be alive, but now it was just an empty shell. But something here was alive, something dangerous. Jake could feel it. The boy turned around and looked for a monster or creature in the street, but could see nothing. Then he heard the heavy breathing that seemed to come from directly above him. The sinister figure, which seemed to have no solid form, hovered about a meter above his head. It was made of darkness, had 2 black claws and glowing red eyes. Jake had never seen anything like it before and was terrified. However, the dark creature did not attack him. It looked as if it wanted to do so, but was holding back. It briefly stretched out one of its dark claws toward the boy, but then retreated. The dream ended. When Jake woke up again, it was already 10:15 in the morning. He hadn't felt this tired and exhausted for a long time. Now he could hear what had woken him up. It was voices, strange voices. They never normally had visitors. Jake's parents were afraid that someone might find out the boy wasn't normal. Apparently, today was different. Curious, Jake crept over to his bedroom door, opened it a small crack, and took a look at the 2 visitors sitting at the living room table with his parents. The young woman and the man were well dressed. Both wore a white shirt and black cloth pants. They each had a badge with a smiley face on their shirts. Team Peace was written around the smiley. They had some documents with them and were apparently talking to Jake's parents about him. This special school, this institution for gifted children, has long been the best place for boys and girls who don't get enough support at normal schools. Your son scored extremely well on a test we developed and sent to schools across the country and would benefit greatly from living in our facility from now on, the woman said. Jake was shocked. Were his parents going to put him in some kind of boarding school? It also seemed strange to him that the woman was talking about a test. They hadn't taken a test at school for weeks. Why was she lying? Did she know about his special talent? And if so, how? I don't really know. Isn't it traumatic for a child to be taken away from its familiar surroundings and separated from its parents? Asked Jake's father. Thanks, Dad, Jake thought to himself. He didn't want to be away from his parents and was happy that they didn't want to get rid of him either. Sure, they're right, of course. It's not easy for the parents to part with their child either. That's why they will be compensated with the sum of $500,000, which will be deposited in their account today if they sign here, said the man. Now, Jake's parents' eyes grew wide. $500,000 would change their lives. Now, Jake's parents couldn't believe that they were not only thinking about it, but actually picking up the clipboard and signing. His parents had just sold him. He carefully closed the door to let the shock sink in. Everything would change. Through the closed door, he heard the two employees of the facility tell his parents that it would be best if they went for a short walk, as it would be easier for the boy and for them. His father noted that the money had already arrived in his account and apparently agreed to the walk. Jake heard the door to their apartment close and panicked. Now he was alone with these strange people. Didn't his parents care what happened to him? When someone pushed down the handle of his bedroom door, he took a few steps back. The woman and the man entered. "Hello, Jake. Please don't be afraid. Everything will be fine. We're going to take you to a place where you'll be better off than ever before. You'll be supported there and have a great future ahead of you," said the woman. "You were lying. There was no test. Who are you really?" Jake wanted to know. "Oh, you cheeky little bastard. You can come with us in peace now, or we'll make you." "Move along, friend," scolded the woman with the Team Peace badge. They shouldn't be so sure about that. Jake had never used his powers on a human before, but he was willing to give it a try. Just as he was about to concentrate on the two liars, something hit him on the shoulder. It made him feel hot and tired. Jake saw that it was some kind of small dart, then he fainted. When he woke up again, the boy was lying in his bed. In his new bed. It had happened. His eyes filled with tears as he realized that his parents didn't love him. Not even a little. But should he be surprised? Probably not. As he thought about it, he realized that it wasn't even the money that was the reason his parents had given him away. The reason was simpler. They were afraid of him. He scared them because he was different. When a child is different, doesn't conform to the norm, doesn't fit into the usual mold, it's a big challenge for their parents. And not all parents are up to these challenges. Jake cried some more, and then decided to at least explore his new surroundings. His room was small but nicely furnished and bright. It had a large television and even some games consoles. On the shelves, he found a few books by King, Tolkien, and other authors. Unfortunately, there were no comics. When he tried to open the door, it didn't budge an inch. Of course it didn't. It looked like an ordinary wooden door with a coat of white paint, but when the boy touched it, he realized that it wasn't made of wood. It was cold and probably made of heavy steel. Nothing here was as it seemed. That shouldn't really surprise him either. After all, he had been kidnapped by two liars. Jake was startled when the large television on the wall suddenly came on. A young woman with blonde pigtails and glasses appeared on the screen. She was also wearing this badge. "Hello, dear new student. Welcome to the Officially Abstract School Institution System, OASIS for short. In the OASIS, you will want for nothing and you will be assigned important work. We at Team Peace will do everything we can to make your stay as pleasant as possible. We hope that you'll be proud to be able to make your contribution to absolute peace in all known worlds from now on. Now, you're welcome to go out for a bite to eat. May peace be with you." The last part was unexpected. Jake thought to himself as the door opened. The hallway was long and completely white. There were lots of monitors on the walls. They showed the woman who had just greeted him. She was pointing to the left. Kahale was written under her picture. That was probably a funny name for the place where he would eat his meals from now on. And since Jake's stomach was growling, it might not be a bad idea to stop by. The dining room looked just as white and plain as the hallway. There were about a dozen long white tables. However, there was only one girl sitting there with her back to him. Maybe she was a newcomer like him and was eating outside the usual hours. Jake walked over to the food counter. A big fat man was waiting there to take his order. "What can I get you, young man? We have meatloaf, rice and vegetable stir-fry, or sandwiches. For dessert today, we have a small piece of apple pie," said the fat man. Even though the menu sounded quite good, Jake wasn't too hopeful. So far, he felt like he was in prison, and the food was never good in prisons. "I'll have the meatloaf and a slice of apple pie," Jake replied. He thought he was being far too polite. After all, he had just been kidnapped by those two psychopaths. He got his tray with the requested menu and then sat down at the table where the girl was sitting, but a few meters away from her. He didn't want to be intrusive. While he wondered if the girl also had special powers, he tried a piece of the meatloaf served with potato, scallops, carrots, and gravy. Damn! The meatloaf was the tastiest thing Jake had ever eaten in his life. Everything was just right. The consistency of the meat, the amount of salt, the spices, and the gravy. He hadn't expected that. What he also hadn't expected was for the girl to slide over to him. "Hello, I'm Nina. Nice to meet you," she said. "Hi, I'm Jake," said the boy shyly. "Are you new here?" she asked. "Yes, I've just arrived. Those crazy people kidnapped me." "Yes, we're all like that. They want something from us. We're special, you know that, don't you?" Nina wanted to know. "Yes, I know that, but what exactly do they want from us? What do they want to use our talents?" asked Jake. "For some nonsense. They're always talking about peace, war, and the man of peace. He probably needs us for some big project, but that bothers me. I'm not interested in stupid peace. I'd rather be free," replied Nina. They talked for a while and were then told by the woman on the screen to go back to their rooms. Jake obeyed as he wanted to save any resistance for later. For now, it was important to find out more about the facility. In his room, he turned on the TV and saw that it was 3 p.m. The TV only had one app, which was called Freedom TV and was a kind of streaming service. There were thousands of movies on there, many of which were sequels or versions of well-known movies that Jake didn't know. He zapped around a bit until it was 3:59. Then the Freedom TV app switched off and the woman from earlier appeared again. "Hello, dear newcomer. At 4 p.m., you can expect a great hour of free time in the courtyard or in the recreation room. Alternatively, you can sign up for one of the sports programs such as soccer, golf, or judo. At 5 p.m., duty calls and you have to work for an hour. The reward is dinner at 6 p.m. Have fun," said the woman, and his door opened again. Sports activities. Judo? Jake almost felt like he was in a luxury hotel for children, if it hadn't been for the announced work. When the boy stepped into the hallway this time, he wasn't alone. A lot of other children were making their way to the recreation room and the courtyard. They passed the sports halls, where there were already a group of children wearing white martial arts suits. The recreation room was very large with lots of board games, hammocks, and game consoles, as well as televisions. Most of the children went in here, but Jake wanted to see the courtyard. Maybe there was a way he could escape there. Outside there was the football pitch, and right next to it was the courtyard. There were benches, table tennis tables, and a small garden with a pond. A boy with glasses was sitting on one of the benches. Like Jake, he was alone, so he sat down next to him. "Hi, I'm Jake," he said. The boy was surprised but seemed pleased. "Hi, I'm Mitch. Are you new here?" "Yes, I came here at lunchtime today. Have you been here long? Have you been kidnapped too?" "Of course. All of us here have been taken from our homes against our will. I think it's been 2 years since I was taken," Mitch said. "Wow, that long? What's it like here?" Jake wanted to know. "It's actually nice. You have lots of toys, there's good food, and there's never a fight. If someone starts a fight, they're punished severely. They really value peace here." "What do they actually mean by peace? And how are we supposed to help? What do we do at work?" I don't know exactly. You sit in a chair and are supposed to concentrate on certain things. You forget what happens when you've finished. That doesn't sound too bad somehow. After all, you can have fun here and you seem to be safe, said Jake. I wouldn't necessarily call it safe. It was a few months ago when I first noticed it. Some of the kids disappear after a while. I guess the facility is behind it. Maybe they get burnt out or something is done to them to squeeze the last bit of energy out of them. We used to be a small clique of 5 people. Now it's just me left. All my friends are no longer alive, said Mitch. Maybe we can be friends, Jake said to cheer him up. He spent the rest of his free time with Mitch. They watched the soccer game and Mitch showed him the different fish in the small pond. Then it was time. The signal sounded. All children, please go to the work area. Thank you, said a voice. None of the children even thought about disobeying. In the long hallway, Mitch was assigned to another room and Jake was alone again. A man in a white shirt who also wore the Team Peace badge led him to a small room with just one chair. He sat Jake down in it and strapped him in. The boy got scared. Then the images began to appear in his mind's eye and a voice spoke in his head. Please, think of the man of peace now. Lend him your strength and do your bit. Give in. Make your contribution. Give in. Make your contribution. May peace be with you. Jake was mesmerized. He saw a strange land in a strange world. He saw huge monsters, a spider as big as a skyscraper, a wolf just as big, a beetle, and other monsters. He knew they were dead. Then he saw disgusting creatures, undead, human, mutated spiders, and other abominations. He focused on them and on the man everyone called the Man of Peace. He found the spiders the worst. They looked like spiders, but they were actually human. Their 8 legs used to be human arms and legs, which were now covered in bristly black hair. The lumpy body was also covered with the same hair and some slime. The head still looked somewhat human, but had 6 eyes and the mouth parts of a spider. Then everything went dark. Jake worked. When he woke up again, the man was unbuckling him from his chair. Thanks for your good work, Jake. We could do with someone like you here. It's 6 p.m. You can go to the chewing hall now. There are pancakes, savory or sweet, said the man. Jake was hungry, very hungry as if he had just played football for 3 hours and had eaten for the last time the day before. In the chewing hall, he got himself a plate of pancakes and 3 different sauces. A red fruit sauce with strawberries, a poke sauce, and a mango sauce. He also saw Mitch at one of the tables and sat down next to him. So how was your first job? Mitch asked. I don't know, Jake replied. That's what Mitch had thought. The pancakes are always good, he said. Yeah, I think so too. Tell me, do you know a girl called Nina? I met her at lunch this afternoon, Jake asked. Nina? No, I don't know anyone like that. I've never seen her here before. Maybe she's new too. That would make sense, said Mitch. The two of them talked for a while and then went to their respective rooms. Lucas was still tired and went straight to bed. Was this his new life now? Food, leisure, work, food, and sleep? And was he really doing any good with his work? Jake fell asleep and dreamed of his parents. It was late at night when he was awoken by someone. It was Nina. Jake, wake up. I need your help, she said. What's going on? How did you get in here? Asked Jake. It's not important. It's happening again. The people who work here take one of the kids. I saw them outside Mitch's door, said Nina excitedly. Jake hopped out of bed and agreed to help his friend. He walked out with Nina and over to Mitch's room. The door was open and they stepped inside. Mitch was lying on the floor. His body looked empty, drained, and decomposed. Jake could see the sheer panic in his dead eyes. Wait a minute. Hey, Mitch told me he doesn't know you. Then how do you know his name? Ha 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 ha, I know all the names, and I've memorized yours in particular. You have more energy in you than all the other children. I've wanted to eat you ever since I saw you, said Nina. But Nina probably was not her real name. It was the demon from the dark street he had been dreaming about. You own this place? Jake asked angrily. No, it belongs to the man of peace, but I don't feel like working for him anymore. I'm not interested in peace. I like war. But the man of peace doesn't know that I think that way, and it will stay that way, because he will think that you and your friend killed each other, said the demon. It was probably his job to track down talented children for the man of peace who could then be recruited. The demon now reached out to Jake and grabbed him by the collar. Jake felt the creature sucking energy out of him. It had probably done the same to poor Mitch. What bothered Jake the most was that he had trusted Nina and liked her, but she had betrayed him, just like his parents. That made him so angry. Jake gave free rein to his anger and decided to give the energy-sucking demon more than it could handle. He poured more and more energy into the demon. "What are you doing, boy? Stop that! That's enough for me!" the demon shouted. "But it's not enough for me," said Jake, and exploded the energy in the demon. The demon was torn into 1,000 pieces. Jake went to his knees. He had never used his powers like this before. He was proud of him. Somehow, he was now like one of the superheroes from his comics because he had defeated a demon from hell. The boy was startled when someone stepped through the door. The man was wearing a black shirt, had green eyes, and was also wearing the badge. He came into the room and put his hand on Jake's shoulder. "Good work, Jake. It's a pleasure to meet you, Jake. I'm the man of peace," he said, handing him a Team Peace badge. Jake accepted it. The horror he had seen today was nothing compared to what he was about to experience. Hey, horror fans! Do you want to learn more about the Man of Peace and his experiments? Then click here and subscribe to our channel. All stories on the channel are connected and tell one large story.